Good Saturday morning to you. Welcome to another episode 50 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. Sorry I missed last week, but I was just simply wore out. I'm still wore out from working on our home in Las Vegas, New Mexico. I took a vacation to work on it, and as we're trying to get it ready to put on the market. I couldn't wait to get home to work so that I could rest a little bit. I tell you what, I was working outside. I tried my hand at stucco work, and it wasn't perfect, but as my wife reminded me, Adobe homes are all about imperfection, not perfection. So it made me feel better. But it wasn't an epic failure. I really did learn a lot. And thanks to Hacienda's Home Centers General Manager Mike, I can't remember Mike's last name. I don't know that I ever knew it. I was just calling him Mike for all his help. I tell you what, those people in Las Vegas, they've been a real blessing in my life and my wife's life and my son. He graduated from Highlands University. And you think going into a new community, it might be a little cliquish or whatever, but we fit right in. They welcomed us as locals, and we've really enjoyed our time there. Unfortunately, our time there is coming to an end. Again, we're getting our home ready to sell. So if you want a historic 150-year-old Adobe in Las Vegas, New Mexico, reach out, send me a message. It'll be going on the market in about, realistically, probably in a month and a half. But, well, believe it or not, speaking of college, it's almost back to school time. I know it is for a lot of area high school kids, but it seems like they're going back earlier and earlier every year. I know when I was in college, we didn't go back to school until after Labor Day. I just knew it didn't make sense. So Labor Day's right around September 1st. It's the first Monday in September. And we never went back to school, I don't believe, after Labor Day. But now, I know Melrose School starts, I heard this Monday. So day after tomorrow. It is Saturday, August 1st. So here we are in August. And it's been hot. It's been real hot. Thankfully, we had some of the area around within earshot of Farmers Electric. We are recording live at Farmers Electric's headquarters here in Clovis, New Mexico. And anyway, some got some rain last night, which was nice. A little nice relief for the brutal heat we've been experiencing. I don't know how many consecutive days we've had over 100 degrees, but that's one thing about when I was working in Las Vegas last week. It was just brutally hot. It wasn't 100, but it got up into the 90s. And boy, I could feel it working out there with that stucco. But, when you send your child off to college, you've got a lot of expenses to think about. And I'm going to go over some of those expenses in a minute, but some expenses you don't really think about are like utilities if they're living outside of the campus. They may have an apartment. They may be renting a home with some of their buddies. Maybe there's 2 or 3 people renting a home or 2 in an apartment or whatever. But there are extra costs associated with that, typically your utilities, whether that be electric, gas, or a combination of both, water and sewer, or water and sewer typically part of rent, I believe, but not necessarily with a home. When I said rent, I meant apartment rental. But with a home, you may be inheriting all those costs. But just thinking about the cost of a 4-year degree these days in the United States, so I looked up some numbers. It varies widely depending on whether you attend a public or private institution and whether you qualify for financial aid based on the latest national averages, which is including academic years 26 to 27. Here's what I found that students and parents can expect to pay before grant. This is before grants and scholarships. So what we call sticker price. So public in-state annual averages $30,990. And over 4 years, that's $124,000. So that's quite an investment, and you hope that at some point you get it back, because typically higher education would mean higher wages. Not necessarily, but in most cases. A public out-of-state, that was in-state, a public out-of-state college averages $50,920 or almost $204,000 for a 4-year cost. So this is a tough pill to swallow, and it's something you hope most would budget for, but most don't. Let's be honest, most don't. Private nonprofit school average annual $65,470. So if I'm this person looking at college, I'm going to follow the money. I'm going to go wherever I might get the best scholarship or the best bang for my buck. Best bang for your buck usually starts with a community college. Say you get a couple of years under your belt, just your basics, and then you go to a 4-year degree in-state, if you really want to be budget mindful. And I know some of these we're a bordering county of Texas, so there is a border county tuition at Texas universities, but it's not the same as in-state. It's still pretty expensive. But that private nonprofit, $65,470 a year or $261,880 for 4 years. Community college, this is where I say it makes a little more sense. And I know you can go for less than this here at Clovis Community College, but it suggests that per year is $21,320, for 2 years, $42,640. But still cheaper than a university or 4-year college. So let's take that one step further. An average annual cost breakdown for public 4-year in-state. And this is the only one we're going to really break down. We'll look at private nonprofit too, just so if you're tempted to consider this, and sometimes as a parent you just have to put down your foot and say, we just can't afford this. My daughter was a prime example of that. I don't know necessarily that she wanted to go to the University of New Mexico, or it was number one on her list. I know she wanted to go, and she appreciated her experience there. But, she, bless her heart, she landed a full scholarship there. I mean, all paid. And even her books. So her tuition, her books, her building use fees, everything. We weren't out not one red cent. So that was the sweetest deal for us. And she graduated with very, very little debt. She changed course, about halfway through, which most college students do, and ended up having to pay a little bit out of pocket, but nothing she couldn't pay back fairly quickly. But let's see, average annual cost breakdown for a public 4-year in-state. Expenses, tuition and mandatory fees, $11,950. Okay, this is for 1 year. Housing and food, that's room and board, $13,900. Again, that's annual. Books and supplies, $1,330. Transportation, $1,380. Personal and other expenses, $2,430 for a total of $30,990. Again, that's 1 year in a public in-state school, 4-year college or university. Now, here's the average cost breakdown for a private nonprofit 4-year college or university. Tuition and fees, $45,000. Again, that's compared to $11,950 in-state. Housing and food, $15,920. Not that much more. Maybe 10% more. Books and supplies, same, $1,330. Transportation, $1,190. Personal and other expenses, $2,020 for a total of annually, again, each year, $65,470. Or for a whole 4-year degree, $261,880. So you've got to weigh these things. Now, in between the lines, you've got these other expenses that we talked about a little bit when we first started, and that would be utilities. If you're living off campus, you're going to be responsible for those. So the biggest factor in keeping utility bills low isn't buying lots of gadgets. It's building on a few good habits. And, there wasn't a program like this around that we could sit around as a family and listen to on a weekly basis. But I think you can train up your young people by having them listen to this program. When I say young people, I'm talking about those that say they're freshmen in high school. This is a good time for them to start thinking about what their folks have to pay on a monthly basis and get them prepared to pay for these expenses perhaps when they're adults. But then if they're mindful of it now, it's going to be easier on your pocketbook in the long run because they'll start these habits. As a matter of fact, they may start policing you. They may say, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, remember what the energy guy said about a thermostat? So that's what I'm hoping. You just teach these kids from a young age how important it is to be energy efficient and save a little money at the same time. But building on a few good habits and setting up the apartment or home wisely from day one, that's what's important. A college student living on their own for the first time often doesn't realize how quickly small things add up. Of course, as parents, we do know that. Here's a practical parental checklist, okay? Heating and air conditioning. And kids, young people, gather around right now and listen to this program with your parents. I'll give you time. You go gather them up. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay. You should probably have them all gathered up by now, sitting around listening. It's like those old families sitting around before there was TV. They'd sit around and listen to a radio program on the radio. Let's just pretend we're doing that for a moment. Heating and air conditioning, that's the biggest cost. Set this, and this is all practical information. It's not just helpful for a college student that's going away, living in an apartment or a home for their first time outside of the dormitory or outside of your home. This is practical information for everybody. Okay. Set the thermostat rather than constantly adjusting it. Summer, 76 to 78 degrees when home. Winter, 68 degrees when you're home. Raise or lower it a few degrees when they're away for classes. Keep windows and exterior doors closed while the HVAC system is running. Home ventilation and air conditioning, HVAC. Replace the HVAC filter if the lease makes tenants responsible. And if they don't, and they're not doing it, somebody's got to check it. But usually every 1 to 3 months, you want to look at that filter and see if it needs to be changed. If you go, 3 months and you hadn't seen any maintenance come by and change the filter, you might ask your, apartment manager or landlord, hey, do we need to look at this filter? Because it's extremely hot or it's extremely cold and my system seems to be running a lot. And it could be because of a dirty filter. Don't block vents with furniture or piles of laundry. Lighting. Replace any remaining incandescent bulbs with LED if allowed. And I say if allowed because it's someone else's property, right? So you might want to ask. I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you said, hey, can I change these old incandescent 100-watt bulbs with 15-watt LEDs, which are better light anyway? Turn lights off when leaving a room. The kids should already know that, but I raised 3 of them. They don't necessarily remember that. Adults don't remember that. That's why I teach through repetition. I talk about these things a lot. Use natural daylight whenever possible. Electronics. Plug TV, gaming systems, printers, and chargers into a power strip and switch it off when not in use, because there is something called phantom usage. And that's that these devices need to stay warm and ready to fire up, including TVs. These LED 4K TVs need to be warm. So they do put off some heat. Anything puts off heat is using electricity. So you can just have one-stop shop, one little button to push, especially if you're going to go away. So you're going to go back to visit mom and dad for a long weekend. Say Thanksgiving's coming up, and the student is going to be home with you all for 4 to 5 days. Make sure they turn that switch off, turn up the thermostat, or turn down the thermostat, whatever the case may be. Okay, because really, if you're not there, who needs it? If you're not actually occupying a room, who needs? It's like a fan. Fans, like ceiling fans, they cool people. They don't cool rooms. They don't cool space. They cool people that are in them. So if you're not in it, turn them off. No sense in running a fan in a room where you're not occupying. Turn off lights when leaving a room. Use natural. Let's see, we've already talked about that. Electronics. Unplug chargers when they are not charging anything. I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that one. They may be using a minuscule amount of power. I wouldn't even suggest that. I want to be a realist. I'm a realist, and I don't want to make people do things that aren't even necessary. And that's one thing that may not be necessary. I have a little gadget called, speaking of gadgets, I've got one called Kilowatt. And I plugged in a phone charger and left it plugged in into the Kilowatt, into the wall, and then into the Kilowatt for 48 hours, and it never moved. It never moved the meter. So I'm guessing they just use such little amount that it didn't even register. And it might register, over, 2 kilowatt hours maybe. That's 20 cents a month. Is that worth unplugging every time? No. Not to me anyway. You got to weigh the benefit versus the trouble that it would take to do that. Enable sleep mode on laptops and desktops. That's not a bad idea. Laundry, wash full loads. Because they're going to take, some of the newer ones do have load sensing in them, and they can sense how much is in there, I guess, through weight, and it will determine how much water to use and the wash time and that kind of thing. But older ones didn't have that technology, and so washing a load was, whether it was half full or full, would use the same amount of electricity and water. Use cold water for most loads. That's true. Today, laundry detergent is formulated to wash in cold water 18 minutes after the hour. So we'll pick it up just a little bit. We do have this day in history. It's kind of interesting today, August 1st. So that's coming up here towards the end of the show. Clean the dryer's lint filter every load. That's important. It's kind of like your HVAC furnace filter, your HVAC system filter. It's like anytime you've got lint buildup, whether it be in the laundry filter or the HVAC system filter, it's like, they have to breathe. They work on return air, and the most effectively is when there's not restricted air. It's kind of like us breathing. If we took a washcloth and put it over our mouth and our nose like this, and you just can't hardly breathe, and we're not going to be very efficient, are we, if we got our face covered up? So it's the same with those two things. So make sure you're cleaning those dryer vents every load, especially if you wash towels. I mean, you could literally knit a sweater from the lint left behind from towels. And that's just one load I'm talking about. Air dry clothes when practical, okay? Avoid running multiple tiny loads each week, as we talked about that. Just, teach them to separate their clothes. The reds over here, the whites over here, the lights over here, the jeans over here, the blues over here, blue and black. They can go together. And my mom I don't like doing laundry. I don't know that anybody likes. I like the idea and the satisfaction of having completed laundry, but I don't like the process of doing it. But my mom, she taught me how to do laundry. So I know how to hang up clothes. I know how to fold clothes. I know how to, separate clothing before we wash them. And there is some comfort, in going. When I was in college, I didn't have a washer and dryer, so I'd either use the washer and dryer on campus, or I would go to a laundromat and just knock it out all at one time. That was kind of nice. Start off the week with all your clothes being done is nice for a college student. Something that you just take off there, and you can do your homework while you're waiting for your clothes to wash and dry at the laundromat. So let's see. Hot water. Keep showers to around 10 minutes. There's really no sense in being in the shower longer than 10 minutes. I used to tell my kids that all the time. And then that'll help save hot water for the next person in line. So if you've got if these college kids have roommates, it's just the right thing to do. Fix dripping faucets or running toilets immediately by notifying maintenance, or if you feel like you're a do-it-yourselfer and you can do it yourself, I'm sure they would appreciate it. Wash clothes in cold water when possible. Again, the laundry is the soap is formulated for washing in cold water. Kitchen, keep the refrigerator reasonably full. It runs more efficient. There's just less space to have to cool if you've got things in there. Keep hot leftovers cool. Let hot leftovers cool before refrigerating. Don't put hot things inside the refrigerator because it's really going to work intensely and the compressor is going to stay on for a while. It's going to change the temperature inside the refrigerator, which will make your thermostat turn the compressor on for a longer period of time, which costs more money. So let it sit out on the counter for a little while. And I don't mean overnight. I just mean for an hour or two. Don't stand with the refrigerator door open deciding what to eat. Think about what you want before you open the refrigerator. Keep freezer frost under control. If it isn't frost-free, use microwaves, toaster ovens, or air fryers for small meals instead of heating a full-size oven. And if you've got an apartment or a home that you're renting, these college students that have a barbecue grill, why not barbecue outside? Especially in the fall or the early winter or into the spring and summer. It's comfortable outside, and you're not heating up your kitchen. Apartment comfort. Close blinds during hot afternoons in the summer. Open blinds during sunny days if heating is needed, like in the winter. Not only can you allow lighting through that, it will allow some passive solar heating. Use ceiling fans correctly. Counterclockwise in the summer and clockwise on low speed in the winter. Okay? And again, you don't really need to operate these unless you're occupying that room, particularly in the summer. Because you're supposed to feel that comfortable downdraft, right? If you're not in the room, you can't feel it. Seal noticeable drafts with removable weather stripping if permitted. And I keep saying, I've said if permitted a couple of times now, and that's because you don't own this property. And you don't want to have to pay for any damage that might, occur while you're doing some of these things. Just be mindful of that. Refrigerator maintenance. Vacuum condenser coils, if accessible, once or twice a year. Not often. Once or twice a year, that's it. Takes just a few minutes. Make sure door seals close tightly. Don't overpack air vents inside the refrigerator. Water savings. Report leaks immediately. Run dishwasher only when full. And again, a dishwasher is kind of like a clothes washer, Whether it's full or half full, it's going to run and use the same amount of energy and water. So go ahead and fill it up. Avoid letting water run while brushing teeth or washing dishes. I've never done that. As far as the brushing the teeth, I think my wife does, and we've talked about that. But it's just something she's done. It doesn't really. I don't want to be too picky because it doesn't use that much water, but everything adds up, and that's why I'm saying, you heard those costs that I was talking about associated with college degrees and the annual versus the 4-year cost, and it's expensive. So if you can save a little here, and it's sure going to be nice. Teach your children to watch as a young age to watch usage and when they're away. If the utility company offers it, download the utility app. We've got that. Smart Hub, FEC&M. Look up Smart Hub, FECNM. If you've already on Smart Hub and you're a Farmers Electric member, you can go to Smart Hub and add utility. Say you have it for say you use Plateau internet, and you've got Smart Hub for that, or Yucca Telecommunications. That's another one in our immediate service area that we serve within our picket fence. If you use either one of those, they have Smart Hub. So if you're already on it and you want to add Farmers Electric, your electric bill, you can check weekly electricity and usage. Many providers send alerts if usage spikes unexpectedly. We're not there yet, but that is coming down the pike. I'd say within the next 6 months, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be sending out text if it looks like we've got an outage in your area and you're signed up for Smart Hub and restoration times and all that good stuff. If there's a message we need to get out immediately to conserve for this, that, or the other reason, maybe to avoid rolling blackouts, we will be able to send those out by text or by email or by both. Budget expectations. For a typical 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, costs vary by region. Electricity, often the largest variable bill. So that's variable bill is something you can change, right? Just by being more efficient or by using more. It's a variable based on your habits. Water or sewer is likely included in your rent. Trash is often included. Internet is a fixed monthly cost, and it could be included in the rent, but often not. Gas, if applicable, is higher. It's a variable cost, plus it's higher in the winter. Things parents can buy that actually save money: LED light bulbs, smart power strips, a programmable or smart thermostat, and again, if allowed or if permitted by the landlord, door draft stopper, blackout curtains for west-facing windows, that'll keep that heat out during the summer, drying rack for clothes, reusable air filter reminder stickers, ceiling fan pull chain labels, summer and winter directions. So let's just in a nutshell, 3 habits that save the most. So if they only remember 3 things, your student, make of them this. Keep the thermostat at a reasonable setting. Again, that'll be like 78 degrees in the summer, 68 degrees in the winter. Turn off lights and electronics when not in use. Wash full loads of laundry in cold water. These 3 habits alone often make a much bigger difference than buying energy-saving gadgets. They also help establish routines that keep monthly utility bills predictable throughout the school year and into adulthood when they've got their own homes and their own monthly responsibilities. Well, that's it for that part of the show. We're at 28 minutes and 37 seconds. I hope so far that you've enjoyed Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. And who needs coffee when you have Morning Buzz with Energy Guy? Morning Buzz with Energy Guy is the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. So listen. Listen to the show, I mean. You thought I was going to come up with something that I really wanted you to listen to at that moment. This day in history, here are some notable events associated with August 1st throughout history. 30 BC, we're going way back, folks. 30 BC, Mark Antony dies by suicide in Alexandria after his defeat by Octavian, marking the end of the Roman public's final civil war. 1498, Christopher Columbus becomes the first known European to reach the South American mainland during his 3rd voyage. 1834, slavery is abolished throughout most of the British Empire under the Slavery Abolition Act. My wife and I recently watched a movie about this very subject on Netflix. It was a 2006 biography drama called Amazing Grace. It follows British politician William Wilberforce as he fights to end the slave trade in Parliament, guided and deeply inspired by his spiritual mentor, John Newton, a repentant former slave ship captain haunted by his past. John Newton penned the famous hymn, Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 1870, good movie. You need to check that out. 1876, Colorado becomes the 38th U.S. state, earning the nickname the Centennial State. 1914, August 1st, Germany declares war on Russia, accelerating the outbreak of World War I. 1944, the Warsaw Uprising begins as the Polish resistance attempts to liberate Warsaw from German occupation. August 1st, 1966, Charles Whitman carries out the University of Texas Tower shooting in Austin, one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history at the time. And I forget how many he shot, but he was shooting from a bell tower. 1981, MTV launches in the United States where the first music video aired. Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. I think that must have been a one-hit wonder. If you would, I know the song, Video Killed the Radio Star. Do you remember that? But I don't know that I could have ever named the group that sang that, the Buggles, Buggles. 2007, the Interstate 45 West Bridge collapses and Minneapolis kills 13 people and injures more than 140. Sad day, August 1st, 2007. Births, August 1st, Jason Momoa, 1979, actor known for Aquaman, Game of Thrones, and Dune. Coolio, he's unfortunately he's passed, which was kind of a surprise to me. When I looked this up, 2022, we actually had this. My wife and I hate to admit it, but we had Gangsta's Paradise. Gangsta's Paradise, rapper best known for that hit. Yves Saint Laurent, born in 1936, August 1st, influential fashion designer and founder of the luxury fashion house. Let's see, born also 1959, Joe Elliott, lead vocalist of the rock band Def Leppard. Herman Melville, if you took any college prep English in high school or took a college level literature class, European literature class, you probably are familiar with Herman Melville, born in 1819 on August 1st, author of the classic novel Moby Dick. Francis Scott Key, he wrote the lyrics that became the U.S. national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. He was born in 1779 on August 1st. Deaths. Oh, let's see. Talked about Mark Antony, Roman military leader, ally of Julius Caesar. That was 30 BC. And then Anne, Queen Anne of Great Britain, she died in 1714. She was the last Stuart, that was a family, Stuart, monarch, under whom England and Scotland were united as Great Britain. And finally, death in 2020, Wilford Brimley, actor known for Cocoon, The Thing, and his diabetes awareness commercials. Good guy, Wilford Brimley. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. 34 minutes. Not too bad. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. We'll see you next week. Oops. Wrong button. We'll see you next week.